What's up, guys? It is July. We are deep into summer and I'm loving it. I'm fresh back from the pool, feeling nice and sun-kissed. Got an iced latte. Oh, it tastes like ice cream. I made a salted honey vanilla latte today, and my secret hack, you just pour a little bit of half and half in it with the milk. So creamy and perfect. Also, the beans we use are fabulous. We are here to talk about books, though, and I read 7 books in the month of June. It was a lighter month for me. I think I read twice that many in May, but it's okay because this was a lot of like kind of holiday celebrating. My sister got married. We had Father's Day. There was just a lot of like locked in to human connection and locked out of like fantasy worlds moments here in the month of June. So overall, we had some solid reads. We did not have any 5 stars, but a whole lot of 4 stars, and I think you will love to hear about some of these books. We were heavy on the romance, and actually, I think all 3 of the romance books, or 3 of the 4 romance books I read this month are new releases. So I was anticipating them so much, and I'm so glad I finally got them read. I didn't realize they all happened within a month. The first book I read in the month, I gave 3.75 stars, and that is Covet, which is book 3 in the Crave series by Tracy Wolff. I talked about this in my previous reading wrap-up video because I read the first 2 books back in May, and this one was my favorite of the series, but I have taken a break because I was getting so sucked into the world of teenage vampires and werewolves and dragons and stuff that I just needed to get some like a more realistic fiction back into my life. And so I don't know if this counts as realistic fiction, but my next read was It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. This was my second time reading a Tessa Bailey book, and I have mixed feelings. I gave it 3 stars, and it was like a fun romance. I like how she writes her men. I don't always love the women. I don't know. There's just like something off. I enjoy her books, but they're a little bit on the spicier side, or maybe a lot of it on the spicier side, depending on which ones you read. This one takes place in the coast of somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. I want to say Washington, and it is a LA Cali girl, nepo baby, influencer, like party. She is known for being the party girl. Her stepdad is rich and famous, and she likes to get in a little bit of trouble, and one time she goes too far, and her stepdad says, hey, it's time for you to learn some real life responsibilities. You actually have ownership in a dive bar up in the Pacific Northwest. Actually, it's Alaska, I think, because her dad was a king crab fisher, which is an incredibly dangerous job, and spoiler alert, he died on the job. I don't think that's a spoiler. Anyways, she and her sister, who comes out of solidarity, go back and decide to kind of revamp this dive bar that was their father's, and that's their way of kind of reconnecting with him, I guess, and a part of their family history that they don't really know well. And they also are kind of connecting with people in the small town here. However, it's a very tight-knit community, and while a lot of people are excited to have this like well-known, well-renowned, and honored man's kids back in the picture, the way that their mom left may have not been the most amicable leaving, I guess, and so things were left on the wrong foot, and these are not your typical fishing town girls, right? So despite them being out of place, this one rugged fisherman cannot keep his eyes off of our main character, and so you just watch the dynamic of them thinking they are totally not each other's types, but there's something about it, you know? Next up, I read The 13th Child by Erin A. Craig, and this one has been in the works for a hot minute. Let's see. February 12th is when I started reading it. Sorry, Allie. That one took me a hot minute, even though it's not a long book. In my like little Goodreads review, I wrote, I blame it on having a physical copy and no time to sit and read. But once I got going on the audiobook, I was going. And I would recommend this to anyone who likes, fantasy in general, but it's about a girl who is dedicated, maybe pawned off to a god when she's born, because she is the 13th child in her family, born to really poor parents who just keep having kids, and they can't take care of this kid, and so they don't want responsibility of it. So before she's even born, the gods are saying, ooh, like, let this child be dedicated to me, because 13th children are renowned for their powers. And she waits most of her childhood in neglect and being kind of the forgotten kid in the family, because her godfather never comes and gets her until her birthday, one of the years, something, I don't know. Eventually he shows up and he kind of like whisks her away, I guess, and says, hey, I actually have this plan for you. You are gifted and you are going to be a healer, one of the best healers of all time. And she then has to study and train, and she also has a magical gift, and it just takes a wild journey into like rural towns and royal kingdoms. And I thought it was going to be a really depressing book. Allie gave me the heads up that it was like kind of depressing, and yes, like the neglect of this child, it was so sad. And there's just a lot of like kind of miscommunication in her relationship with her godfather, that you feel like they never fully connect on the level that both of them want to. But the ending is like exactly how everyone wishes books would end. I will say that. And so it's a standalone. It was a precious read, and I gave it 4 stars. The 4th book I read was The Night We Met by Abby Jimenez. Now, this was a roller coaster even before I got into the book, because I picked it up super excited, thinking, yay, another Abby Jimenez book. I wasn't a fan of her last one. Like, I didn't even read it because the whole love at first sight, I don't know. I didn't vibe with the first couple chapters last year. So when this one came out and I read the summary, I was like, oh, actually, I think I'm going to like this. I was excited. I bought the physical copy. You know, I dropped almost $40 on it. And then I was watching another booktuber doing a review, and she said, yeah, this guy's supposed to be perfect. The male main character, kind of, I guess. The romantic interest is not the boyfriend, basically. Your female main character is dating a boy, and the romantic interest is not the boyfriend. And that was like, ooh, I actually don't know if I can like get behind that. I don't know if I can support that. But then I saw one of my friends reading it, and I was like, hey, I heard there's like kind of like a romance full of micro cheating, you know? Like, is it good? And she's like, oh, I don't see it that way. Like, genuinely, it's just the boyfriend's friend. Like, yes, he loves her, but he cares for her in a way that like she would be unsafe. Like, her boyfriend is perhaps putting her in danger, keeping her in the dark about certain things, and this guy's going out of his way to make sure like literally some life-threatening things happen. And he is the one that saves her, I guess. So it is really thoughtful. If you like thoughtful main characters, that's what you look for in a book boyfriend. I think you would love this book. It didn't come across as like micro cheating to me. So I found myself being able to root for the romance and overall enjoying the book enough to give it 4 stars. Next up, I read When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. I think this is a longer book. Oh, I said overall great and a little bit of Night Court vibes. So if you're a fan of Mr. Rhysand and the Night Court, I think this book would be up your alley. And there's a second book that just came out. I'm waiting for my hold to come through on Libby to get to read that one. Next up, the 6th book I read was Our Perfect Storm by Carly Fortune. If you've been around for previous videos, you know I did a deep dive romance binge on Carly Fortune's whole backlog and had a fun time. This one I gave 4 stars, and I think it wasn't as good as, is it One Golden Summer, last year's book? But it was really good as well. I listened to this one actually while running a half marathon. Ugh. No training involved, just pure vibe. So this book got me through some hard things, and maybe if I wasn't like suffering the whole time I listened to it, I would have given it a higher rating. This one takes place mostly on Vancouver Island in British Columbia, and that kind of reminded me a lot of The Shippers by Catherine Centered, her book this summer, because you have childhood best friends, and it was like a misconnection or kind of like a misread of the friendship with a man that is yearning and a girl that thinks they would ruin the friendship if they ever went that way. So here you have a wedding called off. Again, sounds familiar from Shippers. And she still has the honeymoon booked. And her ex-fiance, I guess, wants her to go and experience the honeymoon. But what he doesn't expect is for her guy best friend to go with her and accompany her. And the best friend, has put in so much effort into like finding how to get over heartbreak and like doing lots of research, talking to psychologists, and he has just like put in a lot of thought into this trip and set apart each day to be a step in the process of recovering and like getting back to herself after this like total heartbreak. It wasn't her that called off the wedding, by the way. Yeah, I loved the scenery. I loved all the activities they did, and it really made me sad because a couple summers ago when I was doing an internship in Vancouver, I was supposed to take a trip out to Vancouver Island, and it talks about, so this book I think is set in like 2026, but there are flashbacks to 2023 when the male main character is reporting on a bunch of the wildfires that took over the west side of Canada. And that was like a really traumatic time for him because he got in life-threatening danger. Anyways, I was there that summer, supposed to go for a weekend trip out to this island that they were visiting, doing surfing lessons on, staying, exploring the beach town. I was supposed to go there, but our weekend trip got canceled by all these wildfires that they're talking about in this book. And so it was a little bittersweet, like reading about this beautiful setting and also wishing that I hadn't missed my opportunity to go. But it made me even more anxious to go back sometime and now take my husband and my son to go visit because it was just a beautiful area in the summer. The last book that I read this month was First and Forever by Lynn Painter, and I gave it another 4 stars. I'm a big fan of Lynn Painter. Her adult romances are hit or miss with me, but this one I enjoyed more than others that I've read, and it is a sports romance. This one particularly is football, and it's professional football with a lifelong football fan. She's the only girl in the family of boys, and she's grieving her mom who passed a year ago, dealing with some health issues with her dad and being his caretaker, while also being, I think she's the youngest sister of multiple brothers. But growing up, they've always been diehard fans of this local to them Minnesota football team, and she gets in a lot of heat from the media after assaulting the mascot at one of these games. She has to kind of come clean, but she's not really coming clean. She's defending herself, and she's on this live talk show when they bring out one of the star players from the team, and their banter is crazy because she knows all of his stats, and he's like, who is this girl? And then the PR kind of stunt goes a little bit further than that. After their chemistry is great on the live show, he's asked to take her out on a date, and they end up falling in love. However, she has no idea this all was a PR stunt from the beginning, the date side of things. And so they build a whole relationship like they've never been in love before. This is like a whole new thing for them, and they are deeply committed. But there's that secret. So a lot of suspense, a really cute relationship, some deep family struggles, but overall good vibes. Nothing too heavy. I feel like you don't sit with it. So I thought it was a fabulous book and a great way to round out the month. Now there are 2 other honorable mentions that I thought I would include. Not typical, not in my Goodreads, but you know, I've got a toddler. So this has been one of my most frequent reads of the month. Teddy is Brave by, actually I don't even know who it's by. It's about a teddy bear's first day of school, and it's a pretty good one. Then the other kind of more serious honorable mention here is this devotion book that I got for my birthday, and I've been reading it. It is divided into 16 kind of chapters, but 16 topics, and each topic is divided into 2 sections. It's called Beholding and Becoming, the Art of Everyday Worship, and each topic has a section on beholding and like what is behold, like kind of pondering and sitting with, thinking on, and then becoming and like action steps and how to activate or how to put that into action in your life. And the artwork is kind of the main point of this book. I asked for it after seeing someone post about it because I have done a poor job at being in the word daily, but I thought these pretty pictures would kind of do the job of motivating me, and it has worked. And then the words themselves are also words themselves are also really thoughtful and give me a lot to kind of work on and think about as I go through life. I would recommend it to all moms. I feel like I just look at it through the lens of a mom, and so like I'd have to reread it again, not thinking about it through that lens to see if it would be applicable outside of that. But generally, just women in general, I think this would be a fabulous choice. Never been a big devotional person, but I think that was just a pride thing, thinking I could lead myself in the word and figure things out for myself. But this has truly helped me stay accountable and just be more consistent with things. So I think that's been great. Alrighty, that is it for the month of June. I'm so excited for July. I just looked through all of my advanced audiobook copies in the Libro FM app for the month of July, and I'm so excited about the ones we've saved. Yeah, there's gonna be some exciting books coming up, so stay tuned and good readings in the month of July.